What's up, everyone? Aaron Nagler here, PackersNews.com. I'm here with Michael Cohen of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel talking Packers secondary, a group that has plagued this team for a number of years. Michael, you pull back and you look at this group, you got a lot of veterans. You have to assume there'll be a rookie or two addition in this draft. What about Lindsey Pipkins? This is a guy who, made a bit of a name for himself last year, definitely showed that he can play, albeit inconsistently. Well, what do you expect from him in his second year in the NFL?
Yeah, the reason I sort of wrote about him in my draft story is because I think that he's kind of an interesting piece of this puzzle in that, Mike McCarthy said at the owners' meetings that of the young undrafted guys, he thinks one is definitely capable of being an NFL starter. And given the fact that Josh Hawkins has had about 2 years to try and prove that theory in his own right, and it hasn't necessarily gone that well, you would think that Pipkins is probably the guy that Mike McCarthy was talking about. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to stop drafting corners or they're not going to go after corners or anything like that, because Lindsey Pipkins was undrafted for a reason. But this is a guy that only started playing football 5 years ago. He only played 1 year of high school football, and then he played in college and ended up making the team as an undrafted rookie. So it's possible that the Packers view him as a guy that would be most likely to challenge whatever rookies they bring in for early playing time, for roster spots, whatever the case may be. So I think that while he's certainly not somebody that they're pegging as maybe the next Sam Shields or anything like that, it's a guy that they have in their plans and somebody that they think could potentially crack into the starting rotation if he continues to develop.
Now, we're talking cornerbacks, but, they obviously lost Morgan Burnett this offseason. There's maybe, depending on who you talk to, a need at safety. I know they used a draft pick on Josh Jones last year, but looking at this year's draft, how do you balance that? I mean, do you think corner outweighs safety when it comes to what this team needs?
I think it probably does, but sort of the interesting caveat to that is whether or not they're looking at a safety that has the ability to play man-to-man in the slot. Now, that's something that we saw a lot with Dom Capers when it came to putting Morgan Burnett at the dime and even the nickel when injuries really struck. Now, of course, that wasn't ideal, but one of the staples of Capers' defense was trying to find safeties that could cover man-to-man if necessary, be it a tight end or a receiver or sometimes even running backs out of the backfield. And so if there was a safety available that the Packers thought had the ability to play in the slot, then sort of, in a different manner, a more circuitous route, that would allow them to address the cornerback position in a way, because they could then focus on adding people to play the perimeter and think that whoever this safety is that's able to play the slot would bolster that area. So it's not necessarily the ideal direct path there, but if there's a safety that they think has really good man-to-man cover skills, it's absolutely an option in Mike Pettine's defense.
Well, there you go. All the latest. Michael Cohen all over it for you. Make sure you're checking his work at PackersNews.com. For Michael, I'm Aaron. We'll talk to you soon.